Harihi Om Sadashiva-Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Krupatamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. ओम शिष्य आत्मसमर्पण कार्पण्य दोषो उपहत स्वभावः पृच्छामि त्वां धर्म सम्मूढचेता यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् ओम. So, we are going into the true Upadesh of Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter till the second chapter's 10th shloka, it was more of the story or the background behind it. But from this shloka till the 66th shloka in the 18th chapter, it is pure Upadesh by Bhagavan. We will do a deep analysis of the shlokas. We will also do the Shankara Bhashyam that is associated with each of the shloka. The first shloka or the 11th shloka in the second chapter is Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashocyananvashocastvam prajñāvādāmscha bhāshase gatāsūna gatashumscha nānushochanti panditāha. Now, what the word by word meaning is, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Uvacha is spoke. Shri Bhagavan herein refers to Lord Krishna. I have not put the translation, but that is okay. Ashocyan, right? Shokam is something that we are aware of. Sorrow, lamenting. Ashocyan is that which is not worthy of lamenting, that which is not worthy of feeling the shokam, grief. Anvashochaha. Anvashochaha is you are grieving. For now, let us just do that. When we go into the detailed study, we will see what is anushochaha, which makes it as anvashochaha, etc. Tvam prajñāvādām cha bhāshase. Right? You, tvam, prajñāvādān. Prajñāvādān means prajñā is height of intelligence, as though you are very, very intelligent. Bhāshase is you speak. What does it mean? It means that you are not a jnani. You are also speaking as though you are well learned, which means you are not well learned. Right? So that is the way that Bhagavan is directly telling. Right? So you are also speaking as though you are a very learned man. Gata asun cha agata asun. Right? The asu means pranan, the breathing. Gata is gone. So gata asun refers to those who have passed away. Agata asun is those who have not yet passed away, or those who are living. Na anushochanti. It is nobody. They do not. They will not grieve upon. They will not lament upon. Who? Panditaha. Panditaha, Panda refers to Ātma Jñānam. Right. So those who have a knowledge, those who are a very, very learned person, they will not grieve upon those who have died or those who are yet to die. That is the first shloka. Very simple one, but it is the first shloka. And a very deep one at this. So let us try to jump into this shloka for some deeper analysis. The key words are ashochya. If you see, there is a suffix called as pratyayam, right? That pratyayam ya is attaching the sense of arhati, worthy of, right? Like puja. Puja is one who is worthy of being worshipped. Right? Similarly, ashochya means that which is not worthy of grieving upon, that which is not worthy of lamenting. That is what is the meaning of ashochya. Anvashochaha, right? Anvashochaha means it is not the English UN, which is the opposite of shochaha again. It is anushochaha iti anvashochaha. Now, anu as a prefix, it is called as upasarga, right? As a prefix, anu means following. Like Raman gacchati, Lakshmanaha anugacchati. When I say that, it means Rama was going, and following Rama, Lakshmana also went. So, anvashochaha means lament after. Grieve means following something, grieving upon. So that is the reason. Here, the following something is following the death, or following, what do you say, some kind of an issue that you are facing. Right? So, following such a thing, you do, what do you say, that you are grieving upon. Basically, that is what it is. Lamenting after. After what? Gata asun and agata asun. This we already spoke. Right? Panditaha. No, Panda means Ātma Jñānam. No, Ātma Jñānam, one who has the knowledge about Atma, is the direct meaning of Ātma Jñānam. But herein, the context is one who has the knowledge of truth. Right? Together with Prajñāvādāmscha and Panditaha na anushochanti. Bhagavan indirectly says that Arjuna is behaving like an ajnani, behaving like a person who is not a jnani, who does not have knowledge. Acharya will use even more harsher word, maudhyam, unmattavat, right? Like a madman, unmattavat, maudhyam, like fool. That is the context that Acharya will use for Bhagavan's words. Okay, so this is what is the context of the shloka. Now, this shloka is called as Upakrama Shloka. When we started the Bhagavad Gita, we were talking about Tatparya Lakshanam. There are Shad Lingam, 6 identification marks of something which is pronouncing the information about the truth. What are those 6 identification marks? Shad Lingam. The first one was Upakrama Upasamhara Nyayam. Like we used to watch the news. There will be a headlines, there will be detailed news, and it will finish with headline. If you remember those old days of Doordarshan news, etc. Nowadays, there is a lot of, there is no time at all. Everything is being rushed. But if you remember the olden days of news reading in the TV, etc., it will start with headlines, go into the detail, and end with headlines. The starting and ending is called as Upakrama Upasamhara Nyayam. In other words, what it means is that which is contained in between refers to this as the concept. The subject is what has been declared in the headline, and the details are about the headline that we have spoken. That is what is Upakrama Upasamhara Nyayam. We also saw Abhyasam, where we reiterate, Apurvata, being unique, Phalam, giving the benefits or defining the benefits, Arthavadam is deliberations like what we are doing right now, and Upapatti, which is the evidence. And these are all the 6 linga that defines a text which reveals the truth. Another thing that we need to also keep in mind is, in Shastra, it is not necessary that the start has the Upakramam. The Upakramam could come somewhere in between. Upasamharam can come somewhere in between. Between this Upakramam and this Upasamharam, what contains is about what has been declared here. The examples we quote are Ishavasya Upanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam is the way that it starts, directly nailing into the Upakramam and giving the details. It's a very beautiful Upanishad. Right. So there you see that it has started itself. Whereas if you go into Kathopanishad, it will be much later. There are some traditions which say it starts in chapter 1, mantra 21, where Nachiketa asks the question. And there are some traditions which say that it starts in the second Valli. Second Valli is the second sub-chapter of the first Adhyaya. All right, so second Valli, it will be the one where Yamadharmaraja starts giving the Upadesh. So there are some traditions which qualify the second Valli to be the beginning. In the initial phase, it will be just a story. Nachiketa will, what is it? Nachiketa's father will be performing a yajna called as Vishwajit. Right. His father's name is Vajashravas. Right. So he will be performing this yajna, and towards the end of the yajna, he will be giving everything away. And he will be giving some very sick kind of a cow, very, bone, skinny kind of a cow. He will be giving it as a dan. Nachiketa goes and asks, what are you doing? Why are you doing like this? So he says that it is the practice of giving everything away. Then he says, if you are going to give everything away, then to whom are you going to give me? Out of anger, the father will say, okay, I'm giving you to the Lord of Death, Yama. Then he goes to Yamadharmaraja, and that is how it starts. Right. So that initial story phase is not part of the subject matter at all. It can come like this also. In Bhagavad Gita, we saw that it starts in the 11th shloka of the 2nd chapter. Now let us go into simple analysis. What does Bhagavan say? Panditaha, which is Ātma Jñāni, don't experience sorrow. Right? Ashochyan. Right? So that is what he says. Ātma Jñāni Pandaha Ashochya is the way that he starts. Now, when we say na anushochanti, ashochya, when they say this, what it means is Atma Jnani, rather Atma Ajnāni will experience the sorrow. Right? If I say that Atma Jnani will not experience sorrow, Atma Ajnani will experience sorrow. A simple, straightforward thing. Ātma Ajnānam is the seed of the sorrow. So the means for liberation from sorrow is Ātma Jñānam. This is the simple mathematics. Right? Now, what is the experience that we have? We have sorrow for many things. It is related to work. It is related to some situation in the family. It is related to some loss that I have made, related to money, and so on. But here, Bhagavan says the cause of sorrow is Ātma Jñānam. The natural question that comes into us is, it does not fit my experience. Okay, somebody is telling me what is Ātma Jñāna, Aham Brahmasmi. But I have lost the money. I'm still having the sorrow. Right? So how is it that this kind of an Upadesh is going to help me? Is going to help me overcome the sorrow. That is what we need to analyze right now. It does not fit my experience, right? So let us look at the reason why we say that the situation is not the cause of sorrow. For this, we take the tarkam, the nyayam, right? Means the logical analysis for this. The experience delivered by the property of something should be the same. When we say it should be the same, let us say that I am going to take a pinch of salt and put it into my mouth. It will be salty. If I eat at 2 o'clock in the night, it will be still salty. If I am very sad and I eat, it will still be salty. Right? The property of that salt can be experienced beyond the time, place, and the vastu, the property. Okay? It is the same. For example, if I am going to touch the fire, the swabhav, the nature of the fire is to burn you. No matter who touches it, no matter in which place it is touched, and no matter at what time it is touched, the fire will burn. Cause of sorrow, as expressed by Arjuna, is death of the Bandhavan, Swabhavan, the kinsman. If the Swabhavam of death, if the nature of death is to bring sorrow, in accordance with this rule, in accordance with this nyayam, sorrow should be experienced by all, at all times, in all places. But that is not our experience. We do hear about death at all times, but the experience is not sorrow. Sometimes it is even joy, right? Diwali, at least the South Indian, right? Naraka Chaturthi, Chaturdashi is basically celebrating somebody's death. So it is not forget sorrow, it is even giving joy. So if we apply the rule, then we can say that cause of my sorrow is not death. Because death is not giving sorrow. If it was giving sorrow, it would have given sorrow to everybody. So the nature of death is not giving sorrow. So something else is the reason. And that is where we are going to dive into. Right? The Tattva Jnana should prompt you to inquire what is the source of sorrow. Typically, we give this example. Say, my son is arriving by the plane. I get up in the morning and I see that there is a plane crash in Ahmedabad. And he was coming from Ahmedabad. So immediately, I'm thinking that, and the news says that everyone has died. I see the news about the plane crash with no survivors, and I break down. I become very sad. And then I just pick up my phone to call or seek the help, and I see there is a text message wherein my son has sent a text message saying that, Dad, I missed the flight, so I will see you the next day, or something like that. The kind of relief that he got, he forgot about all the death. He is relieved. Right? This is the example we give to say that, hey, it is perhaps not the death. It is perhaps an association, raga. So is raga is the source of sorrow? We will try to analyze this also. Even raga is not the cause of sorrow. I have an attachment to this pen. Right? I lost the pen. I don't even care. I will just pick up another pen and go. Right? It is the intensity of the attachment that intensity of the attachment which induces a moham between the right and the wrong, a confusion, a misunderstanding, that becomes the cause of the sorrow. So what is moham? That which creates in you an illusion of an existence of something which does not exist. That is what we call as moham. The example in tradition that we have been giving is buying the ticket in black for watching a movie of Amitabh Bachchan. Correct. And you know, those days we used to do that. Nowadays it doesn't happen, but those days we used to experience it. Right. Now what has happened is that which is worth 5 rupees, I'm willing to give 20 rupees for seeing. That is the delusion. That is the moham. So in Shastra, you know that our tradition or the Vedanta has done so much of analysis that it is amazing. Right? So even this moham is categorized into 3. Right? One is called as tantuvat nyayah. Qualities of thread are reflected in the cloth, which is a thread is just assembled together to form a cloth. Right? So how they reflect the value is the tantuvat nyayah. The second one is mrittikavat nyayah. That is the clay and pot, where it is the clay which forms the pot, but there is a process that it has gone through. The second one is karana karya nyayah, in which the same process, but it has evolved into something totally different. Now, in all those 3, what you can see is the value or the characteristic or the nature of the substance is reflected in the product. How they get reflected is what is the definition of Tantuvat Nyayah or Mrittikavat Nyayah or Karanakarya Nyayah. Now, when this is not, when the source, when the raw material's nature cannot be seen in the property of the output, that is moham. The Ātma Jñānam will come from that point of view only. Right. Now, in this example, based on Tantuvat Nyayah, the Shokam is reflected because of the moham. Because Shokam or samsara is born out of moham, the moham in itself is reflected as a Shokam. Or the property of the moham is to induce the shoka or induce the grief, and that is how it is reflected onto you. Now you may wonder, why is it that we are all talking about it? The reason is we should be in a position to analyze the truth that is going to be revealed to you in Bhagavad Gita in this depth. And this should also induce you to ask further questions, because it is the Q&A, as you can see in every Upanishad or even in Bhagavad Gita, it is the Q&A which enables this Atma Jnana to come into people. Even if in case it is in your own opinion, a silly question. Being able to question in itself is the first step to learning this extremely subtle, very difficult concept called as Atma Jnana. In order to promote it, we go into this depth to say that, hey, now look at it. When I say moham, it is not vrittikavat nyaya moham. That is not the kind of a relationship between Shokam and Moham. It is tantuvat nyaya, like the qualities of the thread which is reflected in the cloth directly. It is that close. And why is it so? It may be a question that you can ask, and we can discuss on that also. But idea is to promote the thinking so that we are able to analyze as much as possible and learn this beautiful science, beautiful, uh, remarkable knowledge that is being revealed in Bhagavad Gita. Moving on, we have used two words, Moham and Maya. In simple English, we can call it as delusion and illusion. We need to understand that the Shokam is a delusion. It is not an illusion. What is the difference between the two? Delusion is a false belief firmly held despite contradictory evidence. Okay? Whereas an illusion is a wrong perception of the reality which deceives the senses. It is temporary and it is corrected immediately as soon as a better data is received. Right? So the Shokam is a delusion because it is so difficult to get out of it. Even if the Ātma Jñānam is given, forget Ātma Jñānam. This pen is lost and I'm very, very sad about it. Even if somebody is going to buy a very similar pen and give it to me, the fact that I have lost the pen will still be haunting me. Very natural thing that we can see in ourselves. When you feel the sorrow, being able to realize this is the first step to overcoming sorrow forever. Right? It doesn't mean you will not have reactive expressions. Even Bhagavan has reactive expressions in Mahabharata. Right? When what is her name? Man, Gandhari is cursing Krishna, he will become very sad, as per the narration. Right? So that sorrow as a reactive thing is not something that we are talking about. We are talking about lamenting. We are talking about brooding over it. That is because of the delusion. And that doesn't go even if the truth is changed. It is still very, very binding in nature. So that is the main thing that we want to understand. Here, what I have done is I have said the nature, the persistence, the relation to reality, etc. And an example, context, correctability. I have just put it into 6 categories and I have just made this small statement. As you can see, the nature of delusion, it's fixed. It's a false belief that does not change even when proven wrong. Whereas illusion, it's a distortion of perception that can be corrected. It is long-lasting persistence. It is temporary. The relation to reality, it's a mental misinterpretation of fact. So whenever you experience the Shokam, whenever you lament or whenever you get into anger, right, whenever you get very agitated, you can always recollect that the cause of it is delusion, which means overcoming it is naturally difficult. Realizing that overcoming is naturally difficult in itself is a cure, is the way we speak of in tradition. So the reason why we are talking about is to have that realization that, hey, I can have the delusion. It is not something that we should stop from having delusion. You will overcome the delusional impact through the realization that the effect, which is Shokam, which is Krodham, those things are the effect of the delusion, the causal aspect being the delusion, you will realize that this delusion is hard to go by. This in itself will eventually cure the effect. The cause will also get subdued. If somebody says, you should not be angry, man, I am angry. What do you mean by you should not be angry? It's not like I can decide whether I can be angry or I can be sad. It just comes out. Right? It is not in my control. A feeling is not in your control. But realization of this delusional aspect, which is the cause of that feeling, is something that will enable you to mature over your own self and prevent such feeling from even arising easily. Right? So that is what we need to keep in mind. A person believes they are a king despite proven otherwise is one of the traditional examples that we give. He has lost his kingdom, but he still has that particular thing. And when this was being spoken, I was just reflecting upon one of the old R.K. Lakshman's cartoon, right, where person looking like Rajiv Gandhi will be doing the charka, and the caption beneath it will say, it will say that who is to go and tell him he's no longer the prime minister? I'm not saying it was a cartoon, it was a joke, nothing to do with any political agenda. But the truth is, the example given in the tradition is that they talk of king and other things, and that is what they always talk about. In terms of illusion, it is a mirage in the desert. Even they have, I saw Prabhakar's name. Okay, even they have, what do you say, exceptions, the illusions. For example, blueness of the sky. That is what we speak about. Context and correctability. At this point, we will take a break and maybe we will come to the conclusion part of it, or should we just complete the conclusion? Yeah, let us conclude it. Right. So this is a very important aspect of conclusion. Here, we are going to go methodically to find out why we say Ātma Jñānam is the cause of, or is the remedy to, overcoming sorrow. For that, we have to define that the Ajnānam of Atma is the cause. Okay, so what does I think that I am this body, not the soul? When I do that without knowing the nature of the soul, right? When I do that, I see this body and this life as I am. What it does is it creates something called as Adhyasam, superimposition. That is what the rope versus snake analogy is. Instead of looking at the soul, I start looking at this body as the Atma. As soon as I do that, there is a Abhimāna, which is a pride that develops on this body. Now, as soon as this develops, we attach the ragam and dvesham. This is something that I prefer, this I don't prefer. Based on the bodily preferences, we start developing those attachments and detachments. That creates a delusion in you to say that this is good and this is bad. We don't even, the basic rationale. You go into the shop, you like something. There are so many things that are there that you don't really even give you don't even bother about it. And in fact, you even dislike it. But why are they kept there? Because it is liked by somebody else. We don't even apply that common sense. We go to the extent of defining something to be good and bad based on my own attachment towards that. Now you see why we say the vivekaha, the ability to apply even the basic intelligence is lost when you have the moham, when you have that delusion. That delusion is reflected in you as a shokam or even anandam, right? In terms of the dualistic experience, the pleasure and the pain and all those things are experienced because of the moham. So, moham, because of Raga-Dvesha, because of Abhimanam, because of Adhyasam, and this Adhyasam can be removed by Ajnanam. That is the way the root cause, Ātma Jñānam, is coming into place, or Ātma Jñānam is coming into play. When we are able to differentiate between Atma and Anatma, then we have to identify what are we? Am I the Atma or the Anatma? And once you identify that you are the Atma, then your samsara is gone, is removed. Bhagavan goes directly into the root cause. He will be, after this particular shloka, in all the shloka, he is going to come up with only Atma, the definition of Atma. There will be a couple of shloka in which he will talk about Anatma in between, but it will be primarily the Atma Jnana. Directly goes there. Right? So Gita Shastram, Sadhyam is Shoka Nivrittihi. That which is the benefit of Bhagavad Gita is Shoka Nivrittihi, overcoming sorrow. What is the sadhanam? Is Ātma Jñānam, the true nature of the self. We go into a small story also here. Learn this Shastra as soon as your Viveka developed. You don't have to be 60 plus, you don't have to be 70 plus to go into this. As soon as you understand this, it is a good idea to jump into it and start learning. And shouldn't become an addiction of learning as well. You should allow the curation to take place in you. Right? So that is why we have Shravanam, Mananam, and Nitidhyasanam, and that continues for our life. That is the value that this first shloka brings in accordance with our tradition from this Bhagavad Gita's first shloka of Upadesha. So we will take a break here, and in our next class, we will start with what Acharya puts it in his words. Whatever I have said will be more than what Acharya has said, not because I have gone above Acharya, it is because I have taken what Acharya has said to elaborate and explain. So what I have explained will be kind of repeated here in summary, is the way that I would put it. But it may look like more details and more examples and more definitions were provided when we were doing the analysis. But remember, this is the seed from which all those things that we discussed comes. So at this point, I will take a break and we will go for Q&A. Are you there, sir?
Yes, yes. Very. Am I audible?
Yes, you are very, very well audible. Yeah.
Very intense. I mean, I think this session is very, very very intense compared to all others. Two things I could easily follow is a derivative of this one. Say, Moham is the reason for Shokam.
Uh-huh.
It's like sounds similar to desire as the cause for sorrow. Buddha types. Uh, simply put, that I could relate to that way. And again, one simple question there is towards the end when we are moving out of samsara, it's kind of are we not moving away from our responsibilities?
No, 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 no. Not at all. We will talk a lot about it And when we discuss about it from a Kshetra Paripalana point of view, you will understand that this Ātma Jñānam will only remove the delusion, not your sense of responsibility. Right?
And
Many
again,
places. Huh.
before I forget, this tabulated differentiation of delusion and illusion is really great. I was actually planning to take a printout because it's very clear and it brings it very clear.
Oh,
So
thank
thanks for
you.
that. That's very nice.
Yeah. So,
Sorry,
see,
you were
for
saying something.
example, you told desire is the root cause of sorrow. And in accordance with what we discussed right now, desire is connected to sorrow, no doubts about it. I'm not saying desire is not connected to sorrow. But if you further analyze, you will realize that the only cause of sorrow is delusion. The desire comes much above it. That Raga-Dvesha, that attachment and detachment, that induces desire in you. But the reason why you got that Raga-Dvesha, when you go down, you will go down to the delusion, the Moham in you. Right? So we must be able to separate that out. So that desire is not wrong at all. For example, it is considered to be part of sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. Mumukshutvam is the word that is used. And that too not just a desire, burning desire to know Atma Jnana in terms of mumukshutvam. But the desire it is not bad. Right? Being delusional about the desire is bad, is the reason for your sorrow. Right? So we need to really be able to separate it out. And the reason why we did the deep separation was because of that.
Super.
I don't know, Jyoti ji, when did you join?
Namaste, Nashji. I joined late. I am sorry. I missed half of the class. I joined only last few minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. I will go through the recording, Nashji. I am sorry I'm late.
No. As I was talking to Prabhakar, you would have known that this class is, this is the true Bhagavad Gita starting. Right. So today's class is an important one, I would say. It is a fun-filled class. So a lot of analysis done. There are a lot of reasons behind it as well. So yeah, please go through that, and your feedback is always welcome as well. Any questions you have from what you have heard?
No questions, Nashji. Thank you so much.
Okay. Where is Mr. Venkatesh?
He's in his work meeting, Nashji.
Okay. Fine. Right. Well, then let us conclude the class here today, and we'll meet again in our next week's class. Hari Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat.